Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna teach you how to set like a pro. We're talking, no creasing, no caking up, definitely no flashback or just like powdery residue. And one of the things that I really like about this technique that I'm about to show you guys is that it makes your makeup really long lasting without getting cakey or crusty throughout the day. Because you know how sometimes you put your makeup on and it looks really good at first, but then like 4 hours down the line, you're like, what happened to my face? This, I feel like I don't get that. Like, I feel like it just looks like flawless throughout the day. So before we get in, let's take a moment for my hair right now because I styled it yesterday and I'm so impressed. Anyways, also subscribe. Okay, so the thing about setting, which I feel like is not like, it's kind of like you don't really think about this, is it really depends how you're applying your makeup underneath the powder, okay? So I've learned over the past couple years that you really want like the least amount of product with the most amount of coverage. So I'm gonna take my Pat McGrath concealer. This one's really good for covering, the purple pigments. It's super matte, so it seems to just smooth everything out underneath the eyes, and you don't need a lot. And that's one thing I love about this. For this technique, when we're gonna be, setting using a couple different powders, you really don't want too much concealer. So we're gonna go in, and I'm taking on this little Smashbox buildable coverage concealer brush, and I'm gonna pat under the eyes right near the tear duct. And then we're also gonna pat on the other side, same area, and bring it up to where you contour your nose. And then I always put a little swipe at the outer corner of the eye, even if I'm not wearing a wing, which obviously today I am. But if you're not wearing a wing, this really helps to like uplift the eye area. And then we're gonna go and pretty much use this concealer in any areas that we wanna highlight. So you can see how thin that layer is. You really don't want to cake it up. And this makes blending it out nice and easy as well. And yes, I did make all my little breakouts into beauty marks. I have like literally been breaking out so badly. It's actually crazy. I think that's because I have switched up my skincare routine a lot recently. I've been trying out like a lot of new products and even like new techniques, I would say, or just like combinations of products. And then on top of that, I've been extremely stressed, anxious, tired, hungry, like every feeling and emotion that could affect your skin, I've been feeling lately. Today I'm feeling a lot better. Today I'm feeling happy and at peace with everything that I have been feeling a little more stressed about. So I'm really hoping that my skin starts to clear up. All right, so now that we have, the under eyes set, the under eyes going, I'm gonna go in with the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin Blurring Powder Foundation. This one's amazing. I also use MAC Studio Fix a lot. You want a powder that is full coverage, a pressed powder for this step, and then also something that's matte because you don't want, obviously to apply shimmer underneath the eyes because then it's just gonna be a whole different vibe. So I'm gonna take this, really lightly press under the eye area. So what this is gonna do is provide a base for our loose powder. Oh my gosh, I forgot to do my cream blush. How do I always do this? I feel like I turn the camera on and like I literally forget how to do my own makeup. Okay, I'm just gonna do this really quick before we get into it. So I'm gonna use the Dominique Cosmetics Warm Peach Cream Blush. I really like this product, it's so pretty. So I'm gonna apply a little higher up, especially since I have a little powder on already. But this is gonna help to lift the cheeks and then a little over the nose. All right, so now we go on to our step 2 of setting, which is the pressed powder step. So I'm gonna take this, I've shown this on my channel before, but the main reason for doing a pressed powder before a loose powder is because you know how sometimes the loose powder kind of bunches up underneath the eyes and it causes creping and just like unsettled powder. This pressed powder step, especially when using a matte full coverage pressed powder, is going to really help to smooth out the under eyes and also prevent that creping from happening. I learned this from Makeup by Ariel, Kylie Jenner's makeup artist. And I feel like Kylie Jenner is kind of like, she has always those like perfect under eyes. Like, I mean, her skin in general, like what is it? She looks like a matte doll. Like her skin is just so soft and smooth. But this is one of the techniques that he said he always does on her. So I actually learned it at a Makeup Forever masterclass back in the day. I think that was before COVID, which is crazy to even think about. Like, do you ever think about like the days prior, or even like the beginning stages where everything was so unknown and you're like, oh my God, none of us knew what was coming, you know? Or was it just me? See how, since it's a full coverage powder, it really smooths out the skin. I feel like it like gets into all those little pores. It does a really good job of doing the initial set. All right, so now after we've done the powder set, you're gonna wanna go in with your translucent powder or loose powder. I like to go with something that has a yellow undertone, but it really depends on like what your skin tone is to see what works for you, whether it's like the translucent, the pinky kind of powders, the yellow powders. I'm gonna use Laura Mercier Translucent Honey for my step. And you really only need a little bit. Like, you don't need that much translucent. We're not doing the old school wake and bake vibe. Get it like in there, like get it in the sponge so that it's nice and flat, so that you don't have any like balls of powder flying around. And what we're gonna do is take that and press it into the skin. And do you see how it immediately locks everything into place, brightens it up even more, and it's gonna hold throughout the day so that you don't have to like retouch your makeup. I think actually what I do is I like pounce it into the cap. Then once it's on there, I like take it a couple times on the back of my hand to really blend the powder out. And then we're gonna go under. And this is honestly such a different technique from the super like kind of baking that we all used to do. Baking's not a bad technique at all. It just depends, you know, if you want your makeup to look a little bit more natural, this technique that I'm showing you today, it just has a bit more of a natural effect because we're pressing into the pores versus letting the powder sit on top of the skin. And like the idea behind baking is letting it sit and letting your body heat warm up to make almost like a little shield of powder over that area. But I find like with this, like I don't really get flashback either because there's not this excess of powder sitting on top of the skin, which, you know, is obviously a plus. And you can take any excess and put it like underneath the cheekbones to sharpen that up. Then what I'm gonna do is take a deeper setting powder. So this is from One Size, and it's the Ultimate Setting Powder in dark/deep. So it is a loose powder. And I'm gonna use this to set the areas around the face, because this right here, this is kind of a life-changing little step, because a translucent powder is a lot thinner than like your average, you know, your average powder that's out there. So by doing it with a translucent, deeper powder, you really are able to achieve that bronzy effect without building up a lot of the powder that's around the skin. So I'm just gonna take this and dust it over any areas that I normally would apply bronzer. See how like beautifully that blends because it's a translucent? And like, don't get me wrong, you know, if the look calls for it, you can totally bronze it up as well. But I feel like for your like everyday base makeup, this is such a nice technique because A, it really does lock everything into place, and B, it just like, you get the blend going, you know? All right, we're gonna do a little bit of blush and a little bit of highlight. And a little tip, if you are one to use cream products like cream blush, cream contour, cream highlight like I am, really when you're trying to go for long lasting makeup, you want to go in and set that cream product with a powder because that's what's gonna lock it into place. So like my cream blush, which I already did, I'm gonna, you know, go in and do a powder blush as well to lock it in. And when the powder blush starts to wear off through the day, your cream blush will hopefully still be on underneath because we've set it well. And then same thing for highlight. I already had a little cream product on. So you wanna go in and set if you're looking for long lasting makeup. Obviously, if you're going for a more natural look, then that's like a whole different story. I saw this on TikTok and I've been doing it ever since. And it's basically, instead of setting your face like straight from the bottle, you go in and set your sponge or your beauty blender or whatever, and you let it dry a little bit. You know, you can't have it super wet, And you actually go in and really lightly, really lightly, because if you do it too heavy, it will actually take off the products that you have underneath. So really lightly go in and press the setting spray into the skin. And you want to start on where you put the highlights, because this is really gonna make them shine bright like a diamond. And it smooths out the skin too. Like I have kind of, you know, a little bit of divots or something on my forehead, and this technique definitely I've seen helps to smooth them out and just like get a really nice even base. So once I've done the high points, then I'll go in and do the rest of the face. And at this point, the sponge is a little less potent. And you wanna go over your entire face with this, and this just like gets everything blended out really beautifully. And sometimes I will just lock it in one more time, just to really get it set. This is the finished skin look. I feel like this technique just makes the powder look so like in there. It's like not sitting on top, you know what I mean? Just sunken in, blended, Vitamixed in. But yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe down below. Remember, you are both one sitting out, and new videos every Sunday, so yeah. Love you guys.